Good morning, students. In the last class, we were discussing about the different types of molecular velocities possessed by gaseous molecules. Right? So let me revise the points that we discussed in the last class. So gaseous molecules will be having three types of velocities. Right? So what are the three types of velocities? First one is most probable. Second one is average velocity, and the third one is RMS velocity. Right? What do you mean by most probable velocity? Most probable velocity means the velocity possessed by maximum number of gaseous molecules. So in a gas sample, so the maximum molecules will be possessing a particular type of velocity that is called as most probable velocity. Right? So most probable velocity can be calculated by using the formula root 2RT by m. Root 2RT by m. So when temperature is given, you will be using root 2RT by m. Suppose when pressure and volume are given instead of temperature, root 3 PV by m, because for 1 mole of an ideal gas, PV value will be equal to RT, right? So instead of RT, you can write PV also. When density is given instead of temperature, pressure and volume, right? So you can use the formula root 3P by D, right? Because density is mass by volume, substitute in the formula, you will get in terms of density, root 3P by D. Then the second type of velocity is average velocity. So average velocity means it is the average of velocities of all the molecules present in a gas sample. Right? So in general terms, if you want to write the formula, the average velocity will be equal to U1 plus U2 plus U3 and so on UN by N, where N represents total number of gaseous molecules. Okay. Then the third one is, and in terms of temperature, average velocity. I didn't mute. 1 minute. Yeah. Then coming to root mean square velocity. So root mean square velocity means it is the root of mean of squares of all the velocities possessed by all the molecules is called as root mean square velocity. So it is represented, general representation is root of u1 square plus u2 square plus u3 square and so on up to un square by n, where n represents total number of gaseous molecules present in a sample. Okay. So in terms of temperature, RMS velocity is equal to root 3RT by m, right? And instead of RT, you can write PV, so it becomes root 3PV by m. In terms of density, it becomes root 3P by D. Okay, so that is the relation with temperature. And if you see all the three types of velocities, in all the three types of velocities, velocity is directly proportional to root T and inversely proportional to root M. That means if I increase the temperature, what happens to the velocity, students? It increases. It may be any type of velocity. With the increase in temperature, velocity increases, and velocity is inversely proportional to molar mass. That means more is the molar mass, less will be the velocity. So this is simple common sense. Okay. So with the increase in temperature, velocity will increase, and with the increase in molar mass, what happens to the velocity? Velocity will decrease. So mathematical relationship also we have seen. Right. And what will be the ratio of these three velocities? So these three velocities will be in a ratio 1 is to 1.128 is to 1.224. Remember the value as it is, students. Right. So 1 is to 1.128 is to 1.224. This is respectively in the ratio. Most probable is to average is to RMS. Okay. Right. Now tell me, in terms of value, which velocity is greater, students? In terms of value, which velocity is greater? Very good. Rashmi, in terms of value I am asking. So in terms of value, RMS will be greater. In terms of value, RMS will be greater. Right? And in terms of number of molecules, most probable velocity. So that's why I said, students, be careful with these 2 points, right? So in terms of number of molecules, most probable velocity, because the definition itself says that is the maximum number of molecules, right? So we'll be possessing most probable velocity. In terms of value, for one value of most probable, the value of RMS is 1.224. That means that will be greater. Right? And in the form of curves, it was given by Maxwell and Boltzmann. So we call them as Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution curves. So when fraction of molecules is plotted against the molecular velocities, how we'll get the graph, students? We'll get the bell-shaped curve in this. Bell-shaped curve, right? So in this bell-shaped curve, you can see that the number of molecules having very less velocities will be very less, and the number of molecules having very high velocities also will be very less. So most of the molecules will be falling in the middle region of the curve. That is called as area under the curve. Okay. Now, the peak of the curve, the peak point of the curve always represents most probable velocity, because that will be possessed by maximum number of molecules. The peak of the curve always will represent most probable velocity. Then next comes average, next comes RMS. Right? Now, if I increase the temperature, what happens to the curve? The curve will be shifting towards right hand side. That means the narrow curve will be broadened, flattened. Okay, so it will be shifting towards right hand side. What does this indicate? Right. So what does that indicate? On increasing temperature, you can see the value of most probable velocity will be increased. Not only most probable, it may be any value, right? I am taking most probable velocity. So you can see the value of most probable velocity will be shifting towards right side. That means it will be increasing. And what happens to the number of molecules possessing most probable velocity? It will be decreasing, because the peak of the curve is getting decreased. It will be decreasing. Right? And with the increase in temperature, what happens to the number of molecules possessing very less velocities? Decreases. Because we know the curve will be shifting right side. So the number of molecules possessing very less velocities will be very less, and the molecules possessing very high velocities will be more. Or generally, with the increase in temperature, definitely velocity must increase. So less velocities will be less, more velocities will be increased. So these are the important points, students. Right? And the other one is with respect to molar mass, inversely proportional. When two curves are given, if they ask you to identify what will be the order of molar masses or what will be the gases, so you can identify. Yesterday we have seen the questions also. Okay, so these are all the points we discussed in the last class. These are all the points we discussed in the last class, right? And we were solving some problems also based on this. We'll continue with the problems, right? One or two problems we'll solve. Okay, next question. Next question. Problem, students. Is there any problem with the video? Any problem? Okay, right. So write down the question. If the average velocity of a sample of methane at 227 degrees, negative 327, at 327 degrees centigrade is X, then at what temperature its velocity will be 3x. Then at what temperature its velocity will be 3x. So same sample of gas at 327 degrees centigrade, the velocity is x. Then at what temperature the velocity will be 3x? Is the question. Solve and tell me. Kelvin. All are getting same answer again. So here I can notice that everyone will be getting same answer every time. So don't try to copy the answers from others, right? So you try to solve, and whatever the answer you get, that you get. Most of them getting correct answers, no, it is acceptable, right? But most of them getting the same wrong answer. Even I get it out whether you are telling your answer or others' answers, right? Try and solve. $5,400 Kelvin. Gagandeep, any other answers? Karthik, 5,400. 4,800. Okay, see it. Let us solve, right? So they're asking to calculate average velocity, right? What is the formula to calculate average velocity? Average velocity is root 8RT by pi n. Correct? Average velocity we can calculate by using the formula root 8RT by pi n. Now see here. Same sample of gas, same gas only it is methane. So molar mass will be the same. Pi is a constant value. 8 is a constant value. R is also a constant. That means average velocity is directly proportional to root T, no? Is this correct, students? This is a constant, this is a constant, this is a constant. Gas is also the same. So when all these parameters are same, right, or constant, then if you simplify this, you will get another constant. That means average is directly proportional to root T. Right? So two average velocities, two different temperatures. So U1 by U2 is equal to root T1 by T2. U1 by U2 is equal to root T1 by T2. So what is U1 they are telling? So at 327 degrees centigrade, it is X. I need to calculate it. Right? Oh, sorry. Other velocity is 3x. When it is x at a temperature of 327. So 327 degrees centigrade means how many Kelvin? 600 Kelvin. Correct? 327 plus 273. So it will be 600 by. I need to calculate the other temperature when the velocity will be 3x. This let it be T2. Right? So xx gets cancelled out. Right? So what you will get? 1 by 3 is equal to root 600 by T2. Square on both sides. On squaring both sides, what you will get? So on squaring both sides, you will get 1 by 9 is equal to 600 by T2. If you square on both sides, square root gets cancelled out. So 1 by 3 square will be 1 by 9. So from this, what will be the value of T2? 5,400. So this is the correct answer, friends. The correct answer will be 5,400 K. Right? So how you will get 1800? 1800 you will get when average velocity is directly proportional to T. But it is not directly proportional to T, no. It is root T. It is root T. Right? All the constants will get cancelled out on both sides. Right? So when you take it as directly proportional to T, as this is 3 times, temperature also must be 3 times. But this is not directly proportional to T, no. It is proportional to root T. So that's where most of them have done mistake. Okay. Got it, students? No, it can be U1 by root T1 is equal to U2 by root T2. Same, no, it is. You can write the formula in this way also. U1 by root T1 is equal to U2 by root T2. Again, if you send this U to this side, root T1 this side, it will be the same formula. No? U1 by T1 is equal, U1 by U2 is equal to root T1 by T2. Same formula. Right? Anyway you can do. Right? T by M you take. Instead of taking two conditions and cancelling out, I am doing it directly. Taking U is proportionality to root T. Okay, students. Right. Next question. Last question. At what temperature? At what temperature? Average velocity of oxygen. Average velocity of oxygen molecule is equal to RMS velocity at 27 degrees centigrade. At what temperature average velocity of oxygen molecule is equal to RMS velocity at 27 degrees centigrade? Same gas is the same. So average velocity and RMS velocity must be equal. RMS velocity is taken at a temperature of 27 degrees centigrade. What must be the temperature of average velocity for the velocities to be the same? That is the question. Solve it as an answer. .25. Any other answers? 353.25. 112.5. One answer is 353.25. Second one is 112.5. Oh, many are getting 112.5. .25 again. 384.07. 353.25. Okay. Let us see which is correct. 295.4. 4 answers I got. Not more than this will be there in the exams, right? See here, friends. See here. So what is the condition given? The condition is average velocity must be equal to RMS velocity. So how will you calculate average velocity? Average velocity is root 8 RT by pi m. Correct? This must be equal to RMS velocity. So what is RMS velocity? Root 3 RT by m. Correct, students? This is the condition given. Right. Now see here. I'll cancel the root. Right. And I'll cancel R because R value is a constant. For the same gas, M also can be cancelled out because in both the cases it is oxygen. Right. Now what happens? 8 into this is average velocity. I need to calculate the temperature. By pi value is 3.14. Pi value is 3.14. Must be equal to 3 into what is the temperature at which RMS velocity is determined? 27 degrees centigrade. 27 degrees centigrade means 300 Kelvin. 300 Kelvin. You can take, no? 22 by 7 is nothing but 3.14 only, no? Right? By that's it. M gets cancelled. So simplify this, you will get the answer, students. Right? Simplify this and tell me the answer. So the value of t will be equal to 3.14 into 3 into 300 by 8. 353.25. 353.25 will be the correct answer. Okay. Good students, right? So I'm very happy because slowly, when I compare your performing with mole concept when I was doing, it is mentioned as molecule. Well, let it be molecule. Molecule means molecular mass will be 32. Here 32, here 32. Both gets cancelled. Same gas, no? Whether it may be molecules or moles, it may be anything. Okay. So when I was doing mole concept, when I give you a question, no, you are not able to tell the answer that correctly. But now I am seeing most of the students, around 60 to 70% of the students are telling the answers correctly, right? So you are improving. That's why I'm telling. More practice you do, definitely you will improve, right? So that doesn't matter whether you are an average student or an intelligent student or a dull student, right? Keep practicing. That is the only thing. So we have seen the students where even though they are very dull, that means only 40 to 50% they are getting in 10th class, but they have got into NITs. And we have seen very high students, intelligent students where 90% they got in SSC 10th class. So they have not even cleared a CET exam also. Right? So that's all. Everything depends upon practice strength. It will be completely different from 10th to 11th and 12th. Completely different. Right? So you cannot come with an excuse that, sir, I was very intelligent in 10th. You may be intelligent in 10th because there no applications will be there. Directly by hearting and writing it in the exam. But here that is not the case. Right? So you need to understand the concept and then present it in the exam. So that's why don't worry that you got less percentage in 10th, or don't be in a thing that, sir, I am very intelligent in 10th class, but now I am not able to perform. You are not able to perform because you are not practicing. Even an average student is able to perform because he is practicing well. Right? That's the only secret, students. So even if you are a 50% or 60% students, you can get into NITs, you can get into IITs, you can become doctors. Many examples are there. There are many examples. Okay, students, right? And yesterday, many students were asking many questions. I was very happy. I will never feel bored if you send the questions, students, right? I feel very happy if you are sending me the questions wherever you have doubts. Right? So I will be very happy that students are practicing at the exam, like in the house. Right? So don't think in a negative way. What sir will think if I send the questions? Don't take it in that way. Whenever you have a doubt, you can send the question, right? So wait for the answer. Whenever I am free, I will be sending them. More questions you ask, more happy I will be. Okay, right? Yesterday, many students, around 13 to 14 students, were continuously asking me questions. So I was very happy yesterday. Okay, right? So that is the only secret, students, right? Nothing other than that. Only practicing, keep practicing. All the subjects, it will be the same. Okay. So this is about the types of velocities possessed by gaseous molecules. This is one concept, right? Then coming to the next concept. Okay, and one more thing. So you got a circular that next week there will be exam. One theory exam as well as one entrance exam. Right? So students, read my notes, it is enough. Even for theory exam, read the notes, because in my notes, everything will be there. Whatever is required for theory exam will be there. Whatever is required for entrance exam also will be there. Right? No need to read theory from any other books. Theory you can completely read from my book. For solving numerical problems, along with the problems what we are solving in the class, you need to solve from other books also. Whether it may be the EPL book or it may be any other reference books you are having. Objective material you will get it later. Right? But in that also the same questions what I am solving will be there. Most of the questions we will be solving it in the classroom. Okay, right? So read notebook for theory exams, for entrance exams, notes along with some other material. And in EPL, GRB publications or any book, whatever you have. Okay, right? And I was telling some point, right? And in EPL, there will be learning exercises and numerical exercises. If you see, right? You try to solve. See, everything we can't solve in the class. Anyway, we are solving many problems in the class. No, you try to solve it by yourself. If you are not getting the answer, I am ready to tell, right? But whenever you are not getting any answer from learning exercise or numerical exercise, students, listen carefully. Whenever you are not getting any answer from learning exercise or numerical exercise, please mention that question in the group what you are having. We are having one group, no, chemistry group. So please post it in that group so that all the students will come to know. So whenever you are solving any other additional questions, it is of your interest. You post it in the group or you post it personally. Okay, so I will be ready to solve. But learning exercise or numerical exercise, because almost every student will be trying to solve, so that in the group, if you message, I will send the solution, it will be useful for everyone. Okay, so when you are doing it from any other entrance book, it is of your interest. Whether you message in group or message personally, no problem. Okay, right. Today, for the test, this states of matter chapter, today we will be completing one concept, students. Till there, it will be there for the exam. Till today, whatever we do, that will be there for the exam. Okay. Till today, what is done, that will be there for both entrance as well as for theory exam. Right. Is this clear, students? Any doubts regarding this? Okay. Okay, students. Let us go to the next concept. Next concept is ideal gas and real gas. Next concept is revision for test. I'll do, right? If we get time today, I'll discuss this concept. If I get time today I'll do, or tomorrow, right? So ideal gas and real gas. Ideal gas and real gas. Okay. So first let me define what you mean by an ideal gas. What do you mean by an ideal gas? So we have derived an equation called PV is equal to nRT, which is called as ideal gas equation, I said. There, no one asked me a question, sir, why it is called as ideal gas. Anyway, now I'll give the answer. Right? So the gas is called, the equation is called ideal gas equation because it is following all the gas laws. So we have discussed some gas laws, three important gas laws. One is Boyle's law, Charles law, Gay-Lussac's law. If any gas is following all these three gas laws, or if it is following ideal gas equation, because that is derived from these laws. If any gas is obeying all the three gas laws, or if it is following ideal gas equation, that gas is called as ideal gas. That gas is called as ideal gas. Right? So write down the definition of ideal gas. Any gas which obeys ideal gas equation, or gas laws, which obeys ideal gas equation or gas laws at all conditions of temperature and pressure, at all conditions of temperature and pressure, is known as ideal gas. Is known as ideal gas. So any gas which obeys ideal gas equation or gas laws at all conditions of temperature and pressure, is known as ideal gas. Is known as ideal gas. This is the definition of an ideal gas. It must obey ideal gas equation or the gas laws. Okay. Right. Now, if I ask you a question, what are the favorable conditions? What are the favorable conditions for ideal gas? What are the favorable conditions for ideal gas? Favorable conditions means in terms of temperature and pressure. What are the favorable conditions of temperature and pressure for an ideal gas? Now see here, students. Till now, whatever we discussed until this velocities, everything is applicable for ideal gas. That means we have discussed this concept only for those gases which are ideal in nature. That means which are following Boyle's law, Charles' law, and Gay-Lussac's law. Right. Now, postulates of kinetic molecular theory we have seen. So in postulates of kinetic molecular theory, those postulates are also applicable for ideal gas only. All the postulates whatever I have given are applicable for ideal gas, applicable for ideal gases. Right? If you remember, in the postulates of kinetic molecular theory, the last two postulates, students, I told you to remember. The last two postulates of kinetic molecular theory. What are the last two postulates? One is the volume of a single gas molecule is negligible when compared to the total volume of the container. One postulate is when you take the total container volume, in that volume of the single gas molecule will be negligible. That is one postulate of ideal gas. Then the second postulate is there is no forces of attraction or repulsion between the gas molecules. There is no forces of attraction or repulsion between the gas molecules, right? Because of their very, very less molecular masses. Now tell me, students, for these two conditions to be satisfied, that means volume must be negligible and force of attraction must be negligible. What must be the temperature condition? Temperature must be high or temperature must be low for forces of attraction to be negligible. Think and tell me the answer. For forces of attraction between two gas molecules to be negligible, temperature must be low or temperature must be high. Think, no, use your logic and see here. Listen, students, listen. Forces of attraction must be negligible means particles must be closer to each other or far away from each other. For forces of attraction to be negligible, particles must be far from each other. No, if they are very close, for example, in solids or liquids, if I take, they are close to each other. That means there will be some type of attraction. So for attraction to be minimum or negligible, particles must be far away from each other. When the particles will be far away from each other, when the temperature is very high or temperature is very less, when the temperature is very high. So if we go on increasing the temperature of a sample of gas, particles start moving far away from each other. Correct? So that's why when temperature is high, then the particles will be far away from each other. In such case, there will be no forces of attraction, and in that case, the gas will behave as ideal gas. And in that case, the gas will behave as ideal gas, right? So what is the temperature condition favorable for ideal gas, students? High temperature. So at high temperature, a gas will behave as an ideal gas. At high temperature, a gas will behave as an ideal gas. Now tell me, right? What must be the pressure condition? What must be the pressure condition for a gas to be ideal gas? Very good. So obviously the pressure must be low. Again, if I apply pressure, then what happens? Particles come closer to each other, no? When I apply pressure, the particles come closer to each other. When the particles come closer to each other, listen students, when the particles come closer to each other, One particle will be combining with another particle. In the same way, many particles will combine to give a larger molecule, right? So in such case, the volume will be negligible or volume will be considerable. Listen. Once again, listen here. If I take a container, right? Suppose this is the gas molecule. This is the total volume of the container. Total volume of the container. Now see here, students. For a gas to be an ideal gas, this volume occupied by this gas molecule is negligible. This is negligible, right? So in the same way, the volume occupied by a single gas molecule must be negligible. Now if I apply high pressure, I try to compress this. Then what happens, friends? So when I apply pressure, many molecules will be coming closer to each other. So many molecules will come closer to each other and you will get in this way. In that case, the volume is negligible. Volume is considerable, no, in this case. Volume is considerable. But for an ideal gas, volume should not be considerable. It should be negligible. That means the pressure must be low or pressure must be high. Pressure must be low or pressure must be high. Pressure must be low, no, students. When I apply pressure, what is happening? All the molecules will come closer to each other. The volume becomes very, very low. When the volume is very low, then the volume occupied by a single gas molecule will be considerable. For example, right? So I am taking water in a small glass. Suppose there is a 1 ml glass, very small glass. In that glass, I am having 3 water molecules. Right? So in that case, the volume occupied by a single gas molecule will be negligible, students. Definitely it will be negligible. Now I apply pressure and I try to compress. So when I compress, the 3 ml volume becomes 1 ml. In that 1 ml, the volume occupied by a single gas molecule will be negligible or considerable. Considerable, you are following what I am telling. Just like a drop of water in a small container and a drop of water in an ocean. Is the drop of water in a ocean considerable? No, it is negligible. Right? Is the drop of water in 3 ml considerable? Yes, it will be considerable. Right? So, what the gas molecule volume will be considerable when we apply pressure. When the pressure is not applied, or when the pressure is very low, then it will be negligible. Correct? So for an ideal gas, the volume must be negligible. That means the pressure must be low. You are following what I am telling, right? So what must be the condition of pressure, students? What must be the condition of pressure for a gas to be ideal? Low pressure. Okay. So favorable conditions for the existence of an ideal gas. Favorable conditions for any gas to behave as ideal gas is high temperature and low pressure. On what basis you are explaining these two factors? Based on the two postulates from kinetic molecular theory. The last two postulates. Right? One is volume considered negligible, other one is no forces of attraction between gas molecules. Right? This part is clear. Definition of ideal gas and favorable condition of ideal gas. Okay. Next, coming to real gas. What do you mean by real gas? What do you mean by real gas? Real gas means any gas which does not obey ideal gas equation, ideal gas equation or gas laws at all conditions of temperature and pressure. At all conditions of temperature and pressure. At all conditions of temperature and pressure is known as real gas. Is known as real gas. Any gas which does not obey ideal gas equation or gas laws at all conditions of temperature and pressure is known as real gas. Is known as real gas. I'll give you examples, don't worry. Any gas which does not obey ideal gas equation or gas laws at all conditions of temperature and pressure is known as real gas. Real gas. If you ask me a question, sir, what are the examples for a real gas and ideal gas? What are the examples? Before going into favorable conditions, if you ask me a question, sir, what are the examples for ideal gas and real gas? No gas existing in the nature will be ideal. All the gases are real gases. No gas existing in the nature will be ideal in nature. All the gases that are existing in nature will be real. So the concept of ideal gas, is just an hypothetical concept. It is a theoretical concept or hypothetical concept. In practicality, no gas will be ideal. In practicality, no gas will be ideal. See students, whenever you get the term ideal, ideal term is always hypothetical. In general case also we can say. So when you will tell a student as an ideal student, I take this in your class, generally, if I want to tell this student is ideal, tell me what must be the characteristics for the student to be ideal. First thing is he must have 100% attendance. Daily he needs to come to school, right? And in every exam he needs to get first rank. In all the sports, he must be having first, right? Is it possible, students? Is it possible for a student to be regular every day? Suppose it is possible, let us take. Is it possible for him to get first mark in every test? Not possible. Let us take, this is also possible. Suppose in some sports, is it possible for him to get the first place in every sport at every time? No. So that's why whenever you tell a word ideal, many times you will be getting in our syllabus, students, right? So always remember this point. Whenever you get the term ideal, so no substance will be ideal, right? No student, no gas, no solution, nothing will be ideal in nature, right? So ideal concept is always ideal in nature, right? So it will never be. That means ideal concept is always hypothetical or theoretical. Now see here. So that means all the gases are real. Why? Again, from postulates of kinetic molecular theory, let us check. Again, the last two postulates of kinetic molecular theory, if I take, right? What are the last two postulates? First thing is, there is no force of attraction between the gas molecules, and second one is volume of a single gas molecule is negligible when compared to total volume of container. First, let us take the first one. no force of attraction between gas molecules. So if a gas has to be ideal, there must not be any forces of attraction. Now tell me students, if there is no force of attraction between the gas molecules, listen carefully, if there is no force of attraction between the gas molecules, can we liquefy a gas? If there is no force of attraction between the gas molecules, can we liquefy a gas? Not possible, no. Because for gas to be converted to liquid, listen, for gas to be converted to liquid, the particles must come closer to each other, right? And they must combine, then only you will get liquid. Correct. So the particles must come closer to each other, they must combine with each other, then only you will get liquid. If there are no forces of attraction, then how you can convert a gas into a liquid? No, right? That is ideal. But in real, can the gases be liquefied or not, students? In practicality, can we liquefy the gases? Yes. We have liquid oxygen, we have liquid nitrogen, we have liquid carbon dioxide, we have liquid methane, we have liquid butane. Right? So all the gases that are existing in nature can be liquefied. All the gases that are existing in nature can be liquefied. That means there are forces of attraction between the gas molecules or not? There are forces of attraction between the gas molecules. So based on that point, we can tell that no gas is ideal. Correct? Based on that point, we can tell that no gas is ideal. If it was ideal, no chance of liquefaction only, because there will be no force of attraction. But there is force of attraction between the gas molecules, so we are able to liquefy the gas. That means none of the gases ideal in nature. All the gases present in the nature can be liquefied. Right? Another point. Volume of a single gas molecule is considered to be negligible when compared to the total volume of container. So that is the postulate of an ideal gas. That means at any condition of pressure and temperature, how much ever pressure you apply, the volume must be negligible, no? Right? Then only it is said to be ideal. But when I apply pressure, what is happening, students? When I apply pressure, what is happening? At high pressures, volume is considerable or negligible? At high pressures, volume is considerable or negligible? Considerable, no? When I apply pressure, volume is becoming considerable. That means, again I can tell, none of the gas is ideal. Right? So at different pressures, different gases will occupy different volumes, definitely. Right? So based on these two postulates, I can tell that none of the gas existing in nature is ideal. All the gases are real gases. All the gases are real gases. Right? Understood, students? Right? Ideal is always hypothetical. All the things that are present in the nature are real only. Okay. Now tell me, students, what are the favorable conditions for the existing of a real gas? Temperature must be high or low? Low temperature. Very good. Right? Because force of attraction are present between the gas molecules. Force of attraction must be present means temperature must be low. So if I go on decreasing the temperature, gas molecules come closer to each other. They come closer to each other, and they finally get converted into liquid. Right? So temperature must be low. Low temperature. What must be the pressure, students? Pressure must be high pressure. Pressure must be high pressure. Right? So this point is important. What are the conditions of temperature and pressure at which ideal gas will exist? And what are the conditions of temperature and pressure at which real gases will exist? Later? What is your doubt? See, any gas, even if they discover, right, at minus 100 degrees centigrade, as minus 200 degrees centigrade, and the lowest possible temperature already we discover, right, minus 273 degrees centigrade. below that temperature, no gas only will be present. That is definitely it must be liquefied or solidified, no? Right? So no chance of ideal gas only. Ideal gas is completely hypothetical, students. Every gas can be liquefied, even if they discover, even if not at minus 273. We are having a practical temperature at minus 273, which is not yet discovered for any gas. If any gas is discovered, they will reduce the temperature, right? Minus 273 becomes minus some other temperature, right? Then Charles' law will be proved to be wrong. Okay. Complete writing. Make in the form of a note. Note the concept of ideal gas. The concept of ideal gas is completely hypothetical. Is completely hypothetical or theoretical. Is completely hypothetical or theoretical. All the gases present in nature are the real gases. All the gases present in nature are real gases. So a real gas can be converted to ideal gas. A real gas can be converted to ideal gas. How you can convert? How you can convert? At one point or the other, definitely a gas can behave as ideal gas. Tell me, students, how you can convert real gas into ideal gas? What you need to do in order to convert a real gas into ideal gas? Yes, by increasing the temperature and decreasing the pressure. If I go on increasing the temperature and if I go on decreasing the pressure, at one point of time, definitely a real gas can exist as ideal gas. Right. Again, once it attains ideal behavior, again if I decrease the temperature and increase the pressure, it will be converting into real gas. So in that way, a real gas can be converted to ideal, but it will never stay as ideal only. Right? Again, it can be converted to real gas. Okay, right? So that is what you mean by ideal gas and real gas. So we are telling that there are some reasons for the deviation of ideal gas behavior. Why the gases are not existing as ideal, why they are real in nature. What are the reasons, right? So the reasons are because of two assumptions from kinetic molecular theory. Suppose, students, kinetic molecular theory was proposed, so we came to know that the last two postulates are applicable for real gases, right? If those two postulates were not there, we would have not got the concept of real gas, correct? So the reasons are mainly because of the two faulty assumptions from kinetic molecular theory. The two faulty assumptions from kinetic molecular theory are the reasons for deviation of ideal gas from real gases, right? So write down the reasons for the deviation of real gas, reasons for the deviation from ideal behavior, from ideal gas behavior. Reasons for the deviation from ideal behavior. They don't know that condition. That's why they introduced. They don't know that if I introduce these two postulates, that will not be applicable for ideal gas. That's why they have introduced. Once they introduce, then other theories, when they do practically, right, they came to know that those two were wrong assumptions. If they know that that is wrong, they won't propose. No, they don't know that. That's why they propose. Right? Reasons for the deviation from ideal gas behavior. What is the first reason, students? You can write the statement because of two faulty assumptions. Because of two faulty assumptions. Because of two faulty assumptions from kinetic molecular theory. Because of two faulty assumptions from kinetic molecular theory. What are the two faulty assumptions? First one is volume of single gas molecule is negligible. Second one is no forces of attraction. So write down those two. The first reason is volume of single gas molecule. The volume of single gas molecule is negligible when compared to total volume of container. This is one faulty assumption because at high pressure volume is not negligible. It will be considerable, right? Second one is there is no forces of attraction. There is no forces of attraction between the gas molecules. There is no forces of attraction between the gas molecules. If there is no force of attraction between the gas molecules, gases cannot be liquefied, but we are able to liquefy the gases, right? So these are the two faulty assumptions from kinetic molecular theory which gave rise to the concept of real gas, right? Important sense, they will ask in the exam, right? So what are the two reasons for the deviation from ideal behavior? These two. Yes, this topic is also there for this week exam. That's what. Today, whatever we are discussing, it will be there. Right? Okay, completed. Okay. Then the next one is I am introducing a term here called a compressibility factor. I am introducing a term called as compressibility factor, represented by Z. Represented by Z. Compressibility factor represented by Z. So, what do you mean by this compressibility factor? So, we are telling that the gases are deviating from ideal behavior at some conditions. Right? To know the extent of deviation, to what extent they are deviating from ideal behavior. To know the extent of deviation from ideal behavior, this term of compressibility factor is introduced. Right? So, write down the definition. Compressibility factor means this gives the extent of deviation. This gives the extent of deviation. Extent of deviation of a gas extent of deviation of a gas from ideal behavior. So to what extent a gas is deviating from ideal behavior? So that information will be given by this term Z. That is compressibility factor. Now, how will we use this term is? See students, for an ideal gas, if it is an ideal gas, it must follow ideal gas equation, that is PV must be equal to nRT. So ideal gas must definitely follow this equation. If it is a real gas, it is, in this case PV is not equal to nRT, because if PV is equal to nRT, it is ideal gas. Here PV must not be equal to nRT. To make it equal to nRT, to make PV equal to nRT, we are introducing this correction term, that is PV is equal to Z into nRT. If PV is equal to nRT, it is ideal gas. If PV is not equal to nRT, it is real gas. So to make it equal, I am using a correction term. That correction term is called as compressibility factor Z. So what will be the value of Z? Z is equal to PV by nRT. The value of Z is PV by nRT. This is for n moles of real gas. For n moles of real gas. Then for 1 mole, Z value will be equal to PV by RT. Z value will be equal to PV by RT. So given conditions of pressure, volume, temperature and R, we can calculate the value of Z. So the value of Z will give to what extent it is deviating. Okay. Now here, if it is an ideal gas, then P into volume occupied by ideal gas, volume of ideal gas is equal to N into RT. If it is a real gas, PV of real gas is equal to Z into nRT. PV of real gas is equal to Z into nRT. From this, what will be the value of Z? Z is equal to P into volume occupied by real gas by N into RT. From this, I can write P is equal to nRT by V of ideal. P is equal to nRT by V of ideal gas. Instead of P, if I substitute this, nRT and nRT gets cancelled out. Then what you will get? Z is equal to volume of real gas by volume of ideal gas. Corrections? If I substitute the value here, nRT gets cancelled out, and you will get volume of real gas by volume of ideal gas at constant pressure and temperature. So at constant pressure and temperature, when you know the volume of real gas and volume of ideal gas, you can calculate the value of Z. Z is equal to volume of real gas by volume of ideal gas. Completed? Okay. Here, students. So for an ideal gas, PV is equal to RT for 1 mole. For 1 mole of ideal gas. For 1 mole of ideal gas, PV is equal to RT. That means what must be the value of Z, students? The value of Z must be 1. No? Right. Actually, PV is equal to ZRT. When Z value is 1, it will be an ideal gas. So for an ideal gas, Z value is always 1. Then for real gas, for a real gas, PV is not equal to RT. For a real gas, PV is not equal to RT. That means Z value is not equal to 1. Correct? Actually, PV is equal to Z into RT. If the Z value is 1, it becomes ideal. If the Z value is not equal to 1, it becomes real gas. Right? When Z is not equal to 1, either it can be less than 1 or it can be greater than 1. Either it can be less than 1 or it can be greater than 1. Correct, students? When Z value is not equal to 1, either the Z value can be greater than 1 or the Z value can be less than 1. Right. Now let us see what is the meaning of Z greater than 1 or Z less than 1. If any gas is having the value of Z greater than 1, then the gas is said to be showing positive deviation from ideal behavior. The gas is said to be showing positive deviation from ideal behavior. It is said to be showing positive deviation from ideal behavior. If Z is greater than 1, it is said to be showing positive deviation from ideal behavior. Now tell me, for Z value to be greater than 1, volume of real gas must be more or volume of ideal gas must be more? For Z to be greater than 1, volume of real gas must be more or volume of ideal gas must be more? Z is volume of real by volume of ideal. For the Z value to be greater than 1, volume of real must be more or ideal must be more? Real. When the numerator is greater, then the Z value will be greater than 1, right? So that means when it is showing positive deviation, the volume of real gas will be greater than the volume of ideal gas. Correct? When the gas is showing positive deviation, then the volume occupied by the real gas will be more than that of ideal gas. And then 1 mole of an ideal gas will occupy how much volume at STP, students? At STP. 1 mole of an ideal gas, 22.4 liters. That means this volume of real gas must be greater than 22.4 liters. The volume of real gas must be greater than 22.4 liters. If I consider 1 mole is occupying 22.4 liters, then the volume of real gas must be greater than 22.4. Okay, listen here. You can write it later. Listen here. Now, what is happening to the volume? Volume is increasing for a real gas. Volume is increasing means, listen carefully, volume is increasing means particles are coming closer to each other or particles are moving far away from each other. Volume is increasing means particles are moving far away from each other. That means repulsions are dominating or attractions are dominating between the gas molecules. Repulsions are dominating or attractions are dominating? Repulsions are dominating. Very good. Repulsions are dominating. If repulsions are dominating, is it easy to liquefy a gas or difficult to liquefy a gas? When repulsions are dominating, is it easy to liquefy a gas or difficult? Very good. So it must be difficult to liquefy a gas, right? So when Z is greater than 1, repulsions will be dominating and it will be difficult to liquefy a gas. Repulsions will be dominating and it becomes difficult to liquefy a gas, right? Those are the other 2 points also. First, write on this part. I'll give you the other one. Write out in here for Z greater than less than 1. Okay, otherwise we'll complete it here also. For z less than 1, see here, when z is less than 1, then it indicates the gas is showing negative deviation from ideal behavior. So it will be showing negative deviation from ideal behavior. Negative deviation from ideal behavior. Okay. Now tell me, students, if it is showing negative deviation, volume of real gas will be more or volume of ideal gas will be more? Volume of ideal gas will be more. When denominator value is more, then Z value will be less, right? So volume of real gas will be less than volume of ideal gas. So for 1 mole, if I take, volume of real gas is less than 22.4 liters. Volume of real gas is less than 22.4. Now see here, students, volume is decreasing. Volume is decreasing means particles are coming closer to each other or moving far away from each other. Particles are coming closer to each other. That means attractions are dominating or repulsions are dominating. Attractions are dominating. So attractions are dominating means, will it be easy to liquefy a gas or difficult to liquefy a gas? It becomes easy to liquefy a gas. So whenever there is negative deviation, liquefaction of gas becomes easier. Whenever there is positive deviation, liquefaction of gas becomes difficult. Okay. So right of this, we'll add those 2 points. Completions? Right. So 2 more points you can add. When Z value is greater than 1, then repulsions are dominant. Repulsions are dominating. When repulsions are dominating, it will be difficult to liquefy a gas. Difficult to liquefy. Difficult to liquefy. Here. So when Z is less than 1, then attractions are dominating. Attractions are dominating. And it will be easy to liquefy. Attractions are dominating, it will be easy to liquefy. Completed? Numericals you will get based on Z is equal to PV by NRD. You will get numericals. Simple numericals you will get. Okay? Yes, right. So let me summarize what do you mean by ideal gas and real gas. Ideal gas means which obeys ideal gas equation. Real gas means which does not obey ideal gas equation at all conditions of temperature and pressure. Right. Favorable conditions for ideal gas, high temperature, low pressure. Favorable conditions for real gas, low temperature, high pressure. And what are the reasons for this differentiation of ideal gas and real gas? Two faulty assumptions from kinetic molecular theory. One is volume of the gas molecule is negligible when compared to total volume of container. And the second one is there is no forces of attraction or repulsion between the gas molecules. So these two are the faulty assumptions. And how you can tell that those are faulty? Because volume is not negligible under high pressures. And if there are no forces of attraction, gas cannot be liquefied. But gas can be liquefied. So those two are faulty assumptions from which we can tell no gas is ideal in nature. All the gases are real gases. That means the gases are deviating from real behavior. To know to what extent they are deviating, we have introduced a term called as compressibility factor. So by introducing the term Z, Z is equal to PV by nRT. For 1 mole, Z is equal to PV by RT. If Z value is 1, it will be ideal gas. If Z value is not equal to 1, it will be real gas. When Z is not equal to 1, either it can be less than 1 or greater than 1. So if it is greater than 1, it is said to be showing positive deviation. Then volume of real gas will be more than volume of ideal gas. Volume is more means repulsions are more. When the repulsions are more, it will be difficult to liquefy gas. Z is less than 1 means volume of real gas will be less than volume of ideal gas. When the volume is less, attractions are more. Attractions are more means it becomes easy to liquefy gas. So till here the concept is clear, students. What is the importance of Z? How it is related to real gas. Okay. Now, so we are telling that none of the gases present in the nature are ideal in nature. How did they came to know is through experiments, by doing experiments, right? Suppose, so we'll see some graphs here. Suppose if the gas is an ideal gas, students, listen carefully. When I plot the graph between pressure and volume, what are this type of graphs called? What are this type of graphs called? Isotherms or isobars or isocores? Isotherms, because it is drawn at constant temperature, right? So this is an isotherm. This is an isotherm at constant temperature. How will you get the graph for pressure versus volume, students? If it is an ideal gas, if it is following Boyle's law. How you need to get the graph? I have given one name, no, for that type of graph. What is the name of the graph? Yes. So it must be an rectangular hyperbola in this way. So if it is an ideal gas, okay. So this is theoretical, students. Actually, when you plot the graph for pressure versus volume, if the gas is ideal, you need to get the graph in this way. But for a gas, when the graph between pressure and volume is plotted after doing the experiment, it was observed to be in this way. It was observed to be in this way. So this dotted line is a real gas. That means this is practical. In practicality, I got the graph in this way. But if it is ideal, it needs to be in this way. This is theoretical. If it is ideal, it needs to be in this way. But this is practical graph. So what you can understand from this graph, see when the pressure is very high, at this point if I take, when the pressure is high, when pressure is high, what will be the volume of real gas, students? So when pressure is high at this point, this is the volume of ideal gas, and this will be the volume occupied by real gas. This is the volume of ideal gas, this is the volume of real gas. Which is having more volume? Volume of real gas is more, no? That means ideal volume is this. But what is happening to the volume? Volume is more actually. When we do practically, the volume identified was more. So when pressure is high, volume occupied is more. Volume occupied is more. That means it is deviating from ideal behavior or not. Volume is on more. That means volume is getting considerable when I increase in the pressure. From this also I can tell that it is not ideal in nature. Slowly if I decrease the pressure, slowly if I decrease the pressure, you can see when the pressure is getting decreased, it is reaching ideal behavior at certain point. Right? At this point, the ideal gas is behaving as the real gas is behaving as ideal gas. From this I can tell that at low pressures, real gas is converting into ideal gas or not? It is getting converting into ideal gas. Okay, right? So this is how the graph will get for ideal gas and real gas when plotted experimentally. This is not the graph what I am drawing. Right? At only one point. That's why I said no. At one particular point, any real gas will behave as ideal gas. Right? Not throughout all temperatures and pressures. Only a particular point. Right? Volume occupied is more, and when pressure is decreasing, when pressure is decreasing, right? You decrease. You need to copy it because in exam they will give the graph, right? One dotted line, one graph line. In entrance exam, anything can be asked. Right? They will give A and B, which is ideal and which is real. Where the pressure is more, the volume is more. That means it will be real gas, right? Volume occupied is more, and when pressure is decreasing, it is attaining ideal behavior. So that means at low pressures, a real gas can behave as ideal gas. So this graph will be asked in the exam, students, right? So where the pressure is high, the volume is more, it will be a real gas, right? Okay. Now see, suppose if the gas is ideal, students, when I plot the graph for PV versus PV or Z, okay, either they give PV or Z, if it is an ideal gas at constant temperature, what must be the shape of the graph, students? What must be the shape of the graph? For PV versus P at constant temperature, PV versus P at constant temperature. How you need to get the graph? Straight line from where? Slant line. PV versus P. Not reading. So it must be parallel to x-axis, no? Because according to Boyle's law, the product of PV must be kept constant. Either by changing pressure or by changing volume, the product PV will not be changed. It must be always kept constant. So the product of PV will be kept constant. So it must be a straight line parallel to x-axis if it is an ideal gas. This is for ideal gas. Z is equal to 1. When Z is equal to 1. But for none of the gases, when plotted experimentally, the PV versus P was not a straight line parallel to x-axis. Right? So for hydrogen and for helium, the graphs were observed in this way. This is hydrogen and this is helium. For some of the gases, it is observed in this way. Right. So this is the graph for nitrogen, this is for oxygen, this is for methane, this is for carbon dioxide. Okay, right? So for hydrogen and helium, the graph was in this way. It is not straight line parallel to x-axis. For nitrogen, oxygen, CH4 and CO2, initially it is decreasing, then it is increasing. See here, this line is Z is equal to 1. In the above it is Z greater than 1 and below it is Z less than 1. Correct? That means hydrogen and helium are showing positive deviation, correct? Hydrogen and helium are showing positive deviation. These gases, nitrogen, oxygen, methane, carbon dioxide. At low pressures, when the pressure is low, they are showing negative deviation. When I increase the pressure, they are showing positive deviation. When I am increasing the pressure, they are showing a positive deviation, right? So this is negative deviation. Z value is less than 1 at low pressures. If I increase the pressures, again they will be showing positive deviation. Okay. So this is how the graphs were observed for different gases. Just draw this graph, students. I ask one question here. For hydrogen and helium, positive deviation always. Remember these two gases. For hydrogen and helium, it is always showing positive deviation. Remaining gases, negative deviation. The gases are nitrogen, oxygen, methane, carbon dioxide. Only these two you remember, this no need to remember. Only two gases are always showing positive deviation, students. Those are only hydrogen and helium. Okay. Okay. Now see here, in the exam, if they give a graph in this way, P versus P, right? This is for ideal gas. This is gas A. This is gas B. This is gas C. This is gas D. Okay. Now the question is, in which case there is maximum deviation observed? Maximum negative deviation. Maximum negative deviation is observed in distance, right? So maximum negative deviation is observed in D gas. Maximum negative deviation is observed in D gas. Right? That means among these four gases, where the attractive forces are maximum. Think and tell me that. Think and tell me the answer. More negative deviation is in D, where there are more attractive forces. Where there are more attractive. Very good. In D only there are more attractive forces. Because more is the value of Z less than 1. Already I have given the points. When the value of Z is less than 1, it will be showing negative deviation and there will be more attractive forces. If there is more negative deviation, more is the value of Z less than 1, more will be the attractive forces. No? Correct or wrong? More will be the attractive forces. So if I ask, if the same question comes in the exam, and if they ask, what is the order of attractive forces? What is the order of attractive forces? What will be the order, students? D will be having maximum attractive forces. So D greater than, C greater than, B greater than A. D greater than, C greater than, B greater than A. So remember this point. You can write in the form of statement also if you want. More is the negative deviation from ideal behavior, more will be the attractive forces. More is the negative deviation from ideal behavior, more will be the attractive forces. Very important, friends. This type of questions are very important. Now then, which gas is nearer to ideal behavior? Which gas is nearer to ideal behavior? Nearer to ideal behavior. Yeah, no, see, this is ideal gas. So this gas is nearer to ideal gas, no? When compared to B. Right? So this is more nearer to ideal behavior. See, ideal gas means there must not be attractions. Here there are more attractions in D. And in here there are less attractions. Less attractions means it is close to ideal behavior. Less attractions means it is close to ideal behavior. Right? Following students, what I am telling? Okay. So one more last graph I'll give. One more last graph. See, all these graphs and everything are only for entrance examples. In for board, what is Z less than 1, greater than 1, that if you remember it is right. Nothing. So if I draw the graph for PV versus P, right? So if it is an ideal gas, I need to get a straight line parallel to x-axis. That means Z value must equal to 1. At different temperatures when I draw the graph. Right? So this is the graph I got at a temperature T1. This is the graph I got at a temperature T2. And this is the graph I got at temperature T3. Okay, students? This graph, this curve at temperature T1, second one T2, this is at temperature T3. Now think, students, carefully think and tell me the order of temperatures. Think carefully and answer. Think carefully and answer. Which will be higher temperature, T1, T2 or T3? From this I come to know to what extent you have understood the concept. T1, T2, T3. Order of temperatures. Think carefully. When the temperature is high or when the temperature is low, at what temperatures a gas will be approaching ideal behavior. Order of temperatures. T3 is greater, huh? Which is greater? Kritika, T1 greater. T1 is greater. T1 is greater. Yes, very good. So whoever is telling T1 greater than T2 greater than T3, that is the correct answer. Why, students? Now tell me, where the gas is approaching ideal behavior? When it is T1 or T3? Where the gas is approaching ideal behavior? T1. What must be the condition for ideal behavior? Higher temperature or lower temperature? Favorable condition. Higher temperature. That means T1 must be higher when compared to T3. So T1 greater than T2 greater than T3. So in these questions, all are theoretical, but that can be asked in the form of questions in the graphs. Okay, right? So this is about the compressibility factor Z. Now here I will define one term called as Boyle's temperature. Write down the definition of Boyle's temperature. Definition of Boyle's temperature. Here, if I go on increasing the temperature, the real gas is going to approach ideal behavior. So the temperature at which a real gas can behave as an ideal gas over a range of pressure is called as Boyle's temperature. So this was given by Boyle, right? That's why it's called as Boyle's temperature. I'll give the definition. The temperature at which the real gas can behave as ideal gas over wide range of pressure is known as Boyle's temperature. That means if I go on increasing the temperature, no specific temperature. Different gases will be having different temperatures, right? Different gases will be having different temperatures. Right? So if I go on increasing the temperature, at one particular temperature, what happens? The gas will be starting behaving as ideal behavior, and it remains to be in ideal behavior for some pressures. That means even though if you change the pressure, the temperature is not going to be changed. Such type of temperature, is called as Boyle's temperature. Yes, completed. Last point, right? That temperature is called as Boyle's temperature. solutions, right? So till here you have for your exam. So we'll stop the class here. So tomorrow's class, I'll revise some of the previous concepts from mole concept and states of matter that are important for board exam. Okay, right. Write down and you can leave. Right? Write down and you can leave.